Subscribe to MDR. Like for more.
One of the things that I've learned over the years is that most films around the world are built on ideas. They begin with an idea and end with one as well. This is the same for Indian films for the most part. However, there is one Indian film that does not build its story, its music, or its direction on an idea, but the idea or accumulation of them is instead built on a relationship. In the marvelous opening sequence of Veer-Zaara, the audience is fooled into believing the idea that this film is just another love story. You know, guy meets girl, they fall in love, face obstacles, overcome them, and then live happily ever after. Yet another romance film. Yet another Yash Chopra film. Yet another SRK film. And then in my experience of watching Veer-Zaara, I was blown away by how simple storytelling can sometimes make for one of the most memorable and intriguing films of all time. Yash Chopra's Veer-Zaara was the second to last film that he ever directed, and since the film took about 7 years from its conception to its release, it became grand not only in its length, which is about a good 3 hours, but also in its messages, themes, music, direction, and acting. Oftentimes, a director gets lost when working on a film for years and years on end. Even the greats like the Russian filmmaker Andrei Tarkovsky or the American gold standard Kubrick are guilty of this. When we go and watch their first films, we look at how they came up with their style, their sense of reality, and how they perceived the world through the stories that they told. In their prime, they were able to showcase these ideas, their ideologies, these worlds in perfect synchronization to their initial formulation. But as we narrow down to their last films, it is evident that their ideas were kind of lost by then. The messages were unclear, and the feeling resembling of their prime was there, but it just wasn't the same. In simple words, they as directors were lost. And their stories too. Without much purpose or depth, and with unnecessary expansions on elements they were known for and added shallowness of what they thought could add to those elements, make for a director's fall. With Tak Hai Jaan, perhaps one can say Yash Chopra saw his fall. But with only the film before it, was he on his way to this destined fall, or did he create a film for the centuries to see? This not only begs the question, but makes it important to understand where does Veer-Zaara come from, and why does the film matter? For our first case, Samia Siddiqui is assigned to fight for the freedom of a man who does not want his freedom. Prisoner number 786, a man who has spent 22 years in a rundown prison in Lahore, Pakistan. This prisoner was once a young man, Squadron Veer Pratap Singh, serving in the Indian Army, who on a mission one day stumbled upon the innocent Zara Hayat Khan, who had come to India for the last rites of her bibi. Through the course of the film's first half, for Zara, Veer sacrifices his job, his dreams, his life, and even himself. And by the end of the second half of the film, we find out that for Veer, Zara sacrificed her future, her dreams, her life, and even herself. In the end, their sacrifices do not go in vain as they are reunited, finally. This is a comprehensive look at the narrative of Veer-Zaara. It sounds like a pretty generic film, with a length as long as 3 hours. Perhaps some might assume that it carries a very loose screenplay and unnecessarily long music sequences. Another perspective, however, gives light to the film's focus on its strong screenplay, which is revealed only when we look at the smaller details. Veer-Zaara isn't necessarily just about Veer and Zara. It is an epic story. It's about everything else. It's about the world, actually. It's a film about how the world can come between two lovers just trying to be together. And this world is what makes it an epic, because an epic always has numerous dimensions to its plot. Political matters, geographical bounds, and godly interventions are all part of the lengthy and sometimes convoluted story of the film. Such elements usually work better in literature, as the longer a novel, the more content it can have, but the longer a novel, the more bad it can also be. But Veer-Zaara tackles this challenge of being a different medium regardless. How does it do this? Well, by making everything in duality. For instance, I did not realize the connection of Veer saving Zara's life from a bus accident directly, and then Zara saving Veer's life from a bus accident indirectly, are two threads that bind together the fate that both the characters fall into. Not only did I not notice the similarities of the two events many weeks after I had seen the film, but I failed to understand the duality of these two bus accidents, showing that there is something working beyond humans to keep Veer and Zara separate, but in a way together. I only took the incident as a plot device to continue keeping them separate initially. Insofar, it becomes clear that Veer-Zaara's principal message can't be deciphered as a singular scheme. It does not tell its audience to love unconditionally or otherwise. Neither does it say to love one's country or the others. It does not even tell us whether it is God that unites or separates people, or whether it is just good humans. It just shows it. It shows how Veer and Zara love each other. It shows the beauty of India and Pakistan. It shows that gods and humans both work together to make the right win. This is why the film becomes much more than just about the commercial Indian cinematic idea of love, nationalism, and belief. Is it an epic love story of Veer and Zara? Is it a story of two epics of Pakistan and India? Or is it a story of two trials of humans and gods? Everybody looks at it differently. Beyond the tragedy of Veer-Zaara lies a love letter to Punjabi culture, to the India that is now lost, only found in remote villages and areas secluded from the westernized big cities and the small towns imitating those big cities. Veer-Zaara, the film, is in love with India. The lengthy, extensive songs about the beauty of this nation in the beginning to the last words said by the couple at the end of the film, all is about India, and India is all. Besides this, the film's plot is built around the simpler things in life, but these are extended onto grander levels while still being grounded. Very much so. Things like everyday respect of a person, honor of a woman, exploring the inhumanity of humans, and above all, trying to find justice in an unjust world. And then there's the duality of the film. How it uses that to create a feeling of heroic saga. There's this noticeable divide in the film's themes and storyline. It is a story of two nations, two ideologies, two colors, two contrasts, two cultures that is told through two characters. In this way, the film carries many themes of epic drama of ancient times, but with progressive interjections and a contemporary mindset. This can be explained by the film's use of feminism and masculinism. While one side of the coin is about feminism, as evidenced by numerous female characters of the film, like Samia, who overcomes the judgment of people about her being a lawyer as a woman, finally transforming into the figure of the respected lawyer and woman she always wanted to be, and by Zara, who is fearless in her love for Veer and defies all boundaries for it, to even smaller character like Miriam, Zara's mother, who despite knowing wrong and right is dedicated to her duty of being a wife and a mother, and other characters like Mati and Shappo, who are rebellious to the stereotypes of their cultures. But don't get it wrong, the other side is about masculinism. Chaudhary Sumer Singh's ability to learn about giving equal treatment to women from a young girl while riding a bicycle in a town he has built from nothing is not merely an incident of closer bond or shallow feminism, it has a deeper meaning. At the age his character is at, you would expect him to be a seen-it-all kind of person, but no, he hasn't seen it all, and that's okay. Veer's fight for a cause without ever mentioning himself or the reason of the cause, which is Zara, is a sacrificial risk of his own freedom, and in turn of his own dignity and respect. But it is all in return for Zara's protection. Such instances reveal how strongly Veer-Zaara stays true to its bare bones while constantly evolving as a tale larger than life. This is what makes it a good film. That is what makes it an epic. It is also rooted into the film, so much so that Veer-Zaara would lose its touch if one was to remove these aspects. The film would fundamentally break down or would not be able to exist. I mean, just the title Veer-Zaara is enough to convey the perception of the story being as something grand, not just another love story. Perhaps this is why the tentative title of the film remains not as impressive. But mind you, these aspects do not come into the film at once. one can't just write them down into the soul of these characters. These aspects come slowly and they come parted. You can tell they have not been developed for the sake of the plot or adding shallow depth, but the plot itself is built around these themes. This does not mean that the film is able to perfectly execute these ideas all the time. There are points in which Veer-Zaara almost stops to conclude one idea and then begin the next one. And in these points, the film feels out of touch, perhaps outdated as well. But it's this ability of Yash Chopra's films that he, out of nowhere, somehow connects both ideas and convincingly makes them come to an end. The effort in the beautifully layered iconic music that one can still hear playing at festivals in India is something out of this world. The late great Madan Mohan's old demo tapes that he recorded in isolation with his only two friends, his voice and his harmonium, were brought back about 2 decades later and enhanced into fully realized songs. Maybe it is this timelessness of Madan Mohan's tunes that make the film's soundtrack untouchable, something like you've never heard before. You should check out the making. It's all on YouTube. It's all completely free and it's just beautiful. It's awkward to listen to at first. Some might even say that the songs sound average at first. But as the film makes use of these songs cleverly, tying it to the film's narrative, it takes the form of something that is both hypnotizing and, well, eternally tragic. However, in many moments, the film gets the jolly nature and aura of the Punjabis, and well, Indians, right? Through songs about Lori and about India's beauty, it's all in good intent. But one must take into consideration where all this comes from. Yash Chopra was born in Lahore before the separation of India and Pakistan. Thus, he had seen both sides of the two cultures, and his distraught over the division of the Indian subcontinent is visible throughout every second in the film, even in the film's music. When Preity Zinta's character, who is a Pakistani Muslim, says "Aisa desh hai mera," and Shah Rukh's character, who is an Indian Hindu, says the same, it not only makes for an irony in the film itself, but when we look outside of the film, we realize that, wait, Shah Rukh, an Indian Muslim, is playing an Indian Hindu, while Preity Zinta, an Indian Hindu Punjabi woman, is playing a Pakistani Muslim. This is what makes Veer-Zaara what it is. The films take the best of the two actors. Shah Rukh is perhaps in his prime in this film. Scott Ranveer Pratap Singh is a character made for him. It is the guy he would have always wanted to be. In numerous interviews, Shah Rukh has mentioned his love for India and how much he wanted to join the army, but on his mother's disapproval of probably losing her only son, he could never do it. Scott Ranveer Pratap Singh is Shah Rukh if Shah Rukh was never Shah Rukh. What I mean is if he was never an actor. I don't think SRK had to really add anything to this role. He basically played his own self in this film, and that is more than okay. Preity Zinta's character of Zara is quite in tune with her actual self. She is like that in reality, just as jolly and just as childish. But where the two actors' acting really shines is in the last 30 or so minutes of the film, when they have to play their older selves and project weakness in contrast to toughness and oldness in face of youthfulness. This is where the film becomes something else. It's the sadness you feel, selfishly hoping that this is something that please may never happen to you. You don't know if you should feel happy that they're finally reunited, or whether wrath or sorrow over how long and how much pain it took to unite them. Here too, we find the duality of the film. Veer-Zaara is a beautifully shot film. It has a contrast to the two colors most often associated with Punjab, green and yellow, like the grass and the barley, like makke di roti and sarson da saag, like Veer and Zara. The efforts made to include these two colors throughout the length of the film are astonishing, from the clothing to the rooms to the sets to the environments. The entire framework is consummated with so much perfection that rest of the colors of the film blend into the two. The film showcases a blend of two cultures, of two people, and of two ideologies. That though people may be separated by name, by who they pray to, and by where they come from, but if you are a human, and a good human at that, you'll find that a person from as far as Alaska is essentially the same as you are, and you the same as them. This is the relationship that the film is based upon. This is what I was talking about in the beginning. Why did I specifically say that Veer-Zaara is a film built on relationships? Well, I wasn't just talking about the relationship as in love of Veer and Zara. In fact, I was talking about everything else. The relationships of people, of cultures, of thoughts, of land and water, of loneliness and togetherness, of youth and aged. It seems that most films project an idea through their characters and plot, but in some Indian films as great as this one, the ideas project on their own, while we are just witnessing a tale. Veer and Zara's love story may be predictable, it may be cheesy in some parts as well, but one thing that is true about the two characters is both of them are so pure and so reckless in their love. The film never tells us to love as much as they do, but we wish that we could. We wish that we would. To merely tell someone to love someone else is easy, but to prove that in 3 hours, not so much. Especially in the commercial romance film market. Even Yash Chopra's last film does not do this as well as Veer-Zaara does. I find that whenever there are expectations for a film, it is never as good as one imagines because truthfully that film does not exist. It actually never will. To me, MDR, I've realized that a perfect film is one that excels in all its departments. Nothing more, nothing less. And Veer-Zaara is one such film. Every song, every frame, every arc is not outstanding or something new, but it is perfect. It is the best version of what it could be, and isn't that all we want? Especially from a film? For it to have an evergreen life, a film that does not follow trends of its time but of timelessness, a film with the true radiance of love? A film? Thank you for watching this popcorn analysis. I've been working on this for quite a while now and I hope you liked it. If you did, I shall please ask you to subscribe to this channel in order to help this community grow. Jump onto the impromptu pod that happens every week on this channel and make sure that you leave a like on this video. It only takes a second. If you wish to let me know anything, make sure you do that in the comments. Well, what else? Don't spread any negativity. Take care. I'll see you soon.